The year was 2016. The month, August. It was a summer defined by Pokemon Go. And by God, people were Pokemon going everywhere. Not me, however. See, I remained at home for most of the month because I had just purchased a seemingly ordinary early access indie game that would soon have me hooked. I played it all day and all night. It introduced me to a genre I had never heard of, but one I would instantly embrace. A genre that, from that day, would only continue to grow in prominence as more and more games like it were released. This is the rise of the colony sim. But what is a colony sim? The more I think about it, the more I realize it's an ambiguous term. Is it even a genre? Steam tags seem to think so, but then again, Steam tags say a lot of things. Experience? What does it even mean, experience? That's not a genre. Every game is an experience. That's how you play them. So let me try and define what a colony sim is. It is a type of game where the player builds, manages, and protects a settlement, colony, by obtaining resources in order to expand and survive, or not lose. The presence of the colony sim lies at the confluence of the greater city builder, strategy, and survival genres. This large range of influences and the fact that there isn't a standard aesthetic or setting allows for quite a range of games to fall under this definition. I mean, you got space, medieval, fantasy, peasant economy, beaver, banished but better, the only good game series that Ubisoft has left. Wait, is Prison Architect a colony sim? I think it is, but I don't like how that makes me feel. Needless to say, there is a broad range of colony sims out there, and each one chooses which aspect of the genre they focus on, and which they don't. But, as an erratically dancing man once said, how did I get here? Well, the rise of the colony sim began, like all things, with its creation. In the primordial gaming soup of the ancient and mysterious year of 2006, arose the original game that all colony sims can claim descent. That game was Dwarf Fortress. If you've been interested in colony sims for any amount of time, then you will have heard about Dwarf Fortress. Even if you are not interested, you might have seen a video essay or two talking about this game and its Byzantine systems. And I'm not talking about the Eastern Romans. More than just complicated, these gameplay systems are detailed, particularly when it comes to anything that tells a story. From generating a complete history and genealogy of a fantasy world from scratch, to the favorite food of a particular dwarf. Dwarf Fortress is excellent at characterization and emergent storytelling, a trait that would be borrowed by some of its successors. Dwarf Fortress has 3 game modes: Fortress Mode, Adventure Mode, and Legends Mode. To very shortly sum them up, in Fortress Mode you build and manage a settlement of dwarves and try to turn it into a true fortress, emphasis on try. Adventure Mode is a roguelike. I mean, it is literally like Rogue, as you create an adventure character to explore and interact with the generated world that you created, while Legends Mode is how you view all the detailed data concerning that generated world. Each mode can warrant a video of its own, but Fortress Mode is really the one to focus on. Its intricate blend of resource management, construction, and survival gameplay is relentless, but the emergent storytelling this gameplay enables leaves many players wanting more like it. The colony sim genre arose from this desire, and the streamlining of the Fortress Mode into a more digestible and repeatable formula facilitated it. The building, the fighting, the management, the little guys that run around and get themselves killed in bizarre ways. These have all become some of the most fundamental concepts to colony sims, and Dwarf Fortress was the first to put them all together in one package, alongside the $1,000 systems they've implemented over the years. Which reminds me, the 19 years that Dwarf Fortress has been around is as large a factor in the creation of the colony sim genre as its gameplay. See, in its almost 2 decades of existence, those ideas and gameplay systems have had quite the impact on gaming, particularly in the indie scene. Minecraft, Rimworld, and Factorio have all claimed influence from Dwarf Fortress. These games in turn get popular and influence others to include the same colony sim aspects which they inherited from Dwarf Fortress. And before you know it, we've got a genre on our hands. This is just a theory, of course, but I think it goes without saying that the games we consider as colony sims, the ones we see more and more on Steam every day, started with Dwarf Fortress. Now, how the genre got to be this popular, however, I would attribute to one of Dwarf Fortress's successors. That game being Rimworld. Just like Dwarf Fortress, if you've been interested in colony sims or even the indie scene in general, you will have heard of Rimworld. This science fiction game about building a remote space colony and surviving the various dangers that come with it has captivated people since its first public release in 2013. The game's success would only expand after its appearance on Steam Early Access in 2016 and its official 1.0 release in 2018. I started playing Rimworld during Alpha 14, back when the world map looked like this and Pemmican was the hot new thing on the block. Today, 9 years, 4 expansions, and countless updates later, Rimworld has become larger than ever. The gameplay is larger, the player count's larger, take a look at that graph. But more importantly, the colony sim genre is larger. This growth of Rimworld in the gaming scene, from an obscure indie sci-fi colony sim to being featured on the front page of Steam, has also spurred the growth of the colony sim genre as a whole. No modern colony sim has become as popular or been around for as long as Rimworld has. Yes, Dwarf Fortress has been around for longer, but its cult status is within a very dedicated niche, while Rimworld's popularity is among the broader gaming audience. I mean, some maniac managed to get this thing ported to consoles. You can't get much broader than that. But why was Rimworld the colony sim to become the hallmark of the genre? Why wasn't it No Moria, for example? That game was another Dwarf Fortress disciple and was also released on Steam Early Access in 2013. Well, I have a theory about that, and it is based on 3 major factors that Rimworld possesses. Number 1, storytelling. More so than a colony sim, Rimworld is considered a story generator. It's the first thing you see when you start the game. The narrative surrounding your colony is the most compelling part of Rimworld, and so it's the part which gets shared around online. The result is that, just like its equally narrative-driven Dwarven predecessor, most videos on Rimworld discuss their colony's story, its triumphs, and its tragedies. We humans are narrative addicts, and so by sharing these colony stories, Rimworld is experiencing the best form of marketing a game can have. It is for that reason that Rimworld became as popular as it is, and when those people heard those great stories, they became interested in playing this game and seeing if something similar would happen to them. Which brings me to number 2, accessibility. Now, the storytelling is what brings people to Rimworld, but it is the relative accessibility of Rimworld, especially when compared to Dwarf Fortress, that allows those interested to play it. Imagine, if you will, that you just found out about colony sims. You watched some videos about the grand narratives in Dwarf Fortress and Rimworld, and you want to try it out. First, you check out Dwarf Fortress, but you are met with the ASCII graphics, the complicated controls, and the mountain of guides needed to figure anything out. Then you look at Rimworld, its digestible graphics, its more intuitive controls, and the smaller mountain of guides needed to play. Safe to say, a majority of people will try Rimworld before they try Dwarf Fortress, and that is what I mean by accessibility. The more complex the game is, the more niche and less accessible it is to a larger audience, which isn't bad, far from it in fact, but it does limit its mass popularity. Since Rimworld's presentation and gameplay are more accessible, it was the game that became one of the most popular and influential in the developing colony sim genre. Finally, number 3, moddability. This is where my theory gets speculative, so keep that in mind. Now, we've covered how Rimworld attracts new players, and how it gets those players to try the game, but not how Rimworld sparked the growth of the colony sim genre as a whole. My answer lies in Rimworld's extensive moddability and vast library of mods. Rimworld is one of those games which is known for its modding scene, and I'd argue this is emblematic of the game's effect on the genre. Developers of mods and games alike might see Rimworld and like its core colony sim gameplay, but change aspects of it to fit with what they want in the genre. Perhaps they want to focus less on sci-fi and more on medieval, less survival and more progressing production, less micromanagement and more macro. Both colony sims and Rimworld mods have focused on these aspects. This is not to say that the mods inspired these games, but rather they show how people use Rimworld as a base from which they can modify to create their preferred game. It is impossible to say whether many of these colony sims today were directly influenced by Rimworld or not. Unless they directly state it, we have no idea. However, the moddability of Rimworld gives us an idea of how its core colony sim gameplay can be molded into different shapes. thus expanding what a colony sim can be and growing the genre as a whole. Through these three factors, I hope I've illustrated why Rimworld has created the abundance of colony sims we see today, which begs the question, where will colony sims be in the future? Thankfully for fans like myself, I think the future bodes well for the genre. Just looking at the Rimworld player numbers, we can see a steady growth over the years, and I don't see an indication that this will stop. This is supported by the 2022 release of Dwarf Fortress on Steam to great success and much fanfare. Clearly, the audience for these types of games remains strong. I think more developers are going to take advantage of that stable audience and satiate that market desire with more and more colony sims. I'm quite excited to see what they come up with. The game to succeed Rimworld, just as Rimworld succeeded Dwarf Fortress, may very well be on the horizon. The only prediction that I will make is that I imagine we will see a AAA colony sim fairly soon. The indie scene seems to be the only one interested in making these games right now, but with the genre's proven track record, it is only a matter of time before larger studios enter the ring. Will this AAA colony sim be good? Who is to say? Personally, I think indie devs have been doing fantastic work, and I don't see how a big studio could do much better, but I will wait and see. Colony sims have experienced quite the glow up. Since the first release of Dwarf Fortress back in 2006, the genre has only continued to expand both in the number of games and the amount of people playing them. Today, colony sims are indie darlings, catering to a dedicated audience, myself included. These games have created a captivating and addictive gameplay style, carving themselves a vital niche in the gaming landscape, right between the city builder, strategy, and survival genres. And if the colony sim genre continues to produce great games, this prosperity will carry on for the foreseeable future. That was the rise of the colony sim. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.